Good evening, everyone. My name is Rafael Pagan, and I would like to welcome you to our 19th annual gala, celebrating our 35th anniversary at Pacific House. This year has presented many challenges for Pacific House, given the pandemic that we have all experienced. First, let me wish you all that you and your families have been safe during this very difficult period of time. With that said, this has presented a major challenge for many nonprofits, including Pacific House. And this year, we're having our gala virtually. Despite the challenges that we have faced with the pandemic, Pacific House has certainly been able to accomplish many different things. Our first accomplishment was addressing the issue of the pandemic and how it was going to affect us at the emergency shelter. Very early on, we were able to move all our guests at the emergency shelter to the hotels, two different hotels. 96 consumers participated in that. The major outcome we've had is that only one individual out of the original 96 that went to the emergency shelter throughout this period of time has tested positive. That is a tremendous accomplishment. During that period of time, we've been taking the opportunity to upgrade the emergency shelter through a generous grant from Department of Housing of $730,000. We are very close to finishing that project as we speak and anticipate that prior to the end of this month, we will be able to start bringing in our consumers back to the emergency shelter. In addition to that, we've continued our mission of developing permanent supportive housing. Through a very generous grant from the state of Connecticut, we were also able to purchase 6 new homes, 4 of which are currently operating and 2 under development. First, I'd like to take an opportunity before we move on to thank all our sponsors and donors. Without you, we just would not be able to meet the mission of the organization. Special thanks have to go to Representative Matt Blumenthal, who's going to be our gracious guest this evening for our festivities. In addition to that, hopefully we'll be able to share our story as an organization for the last 35 years and how we've evolved to become who we are today, which is really a leader in this space in regard to emergency shelter, as well as the development of deeply affordable housing. We also want to share some of the other things we're doing, such as recently being able to reach out to the community at Danbury and support them at a point in time where they really needed some support and leadership. So there's a tremendous story to tell, and I look forward for you enjoying your evening, learning more about us, and if you feel that you're able to contribute under these difficult times, we certainly would welcome your contribution. Again, I want to thank you all for partaking in this and hope you have a lovely evening and certainly be able to walk away feeling that you've learned a little bit more about Pacific House. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Richard Blumenthal, your United States Senator, and I'm really excited and honored to join you for this virtual gala. First and foremost, a tremendous thanks to the dedicated staff and volunteers and board, and of course to your host. I'm very proud to be from Stamford and to have watched Pacific House grow and expand over these 35 years in not only the number of facilities, but the range of services it provides. A home for someone who faces potential homelessness is more than just bricks and mortar or a roof over the head. It's also support services that enable that person to get back on their feet and know the meaning of independence and the dignity of work. I'm proud of Pacific House for recognizing the need to provide those services, especially during this pandemic, when Wi-Fi, for example, are all the more important to ease and end isolation. Again, my thanks for all you do to make me proud and to enable me to tell my colleagues about Pacific House and how it is a model, a national model, for what they should be doing in their states, and to provide the evidence I need to support the kind of rental assistance and market stabilization programs that provide the resources that you need. And finally, we are in the midst of an economic crisis, a healthcare emergency, but also a movement for social justice. And unfortunately, housing instability disproportionately impacts people of color. We ought to be fighting for justice. I know Pacific House is. Thanks for all the great work that you do.
It's with great pleasure that we introduce you to our host for the evening, a longtime supporter and a friend of Pacific House, and our state representative for Stanford and Darien, Matt Blumenthal.
Welcome, everyone. I'm Matt Blumenthal, and I'm so glad to welcome you to the 19th Annual Pacific House Virtual Gala. We're celebrating 35 years of preventing and ending homelessness here in Fairfield County, and I am so excited and honored to be your host for the evening. We hope everyone joining us is safe and healthy during this very troubling time, and we thank you so much for taking the time tonight to get to know the journey of Pacific House over the last 35 years. Now, let's walk through a bit of this evening's program. You're going to hear from clients, volunteers, staff, board members, and partners of Pacific House, all sharing their experience throughout these 3 decades. To pledge, and this is important, please send a text to 970-840-900. In the message, then type the letters PHG, a space, the amount you want to give, and then another space, and then place your name. Or if you'd rather give anonymously, you can simply leave that name spot blank. So Pacific House will have your number, and then they will be able to follow up with you on your pledge once you fill out that. Now, according to the point in time count, an annual volunteer census of the homeless population in the state, and something I've had the honor of being able to participate in. As of January 2020, there were almost 3,000 homeless people in our state. And although that number is high, it's a lot lower in 2020 due to the work of organizations like Pacific House. Now, let's take a look at why Pacific House was formed 35 years ago.
Tell me your name, your age, and where you're from. Okay?
All right.
You're gonna let me know in 3, 2, 1.
Hi, I'm Zachary Dill. I'm 22 and I'm originally from Florida.
All right. My name is Willie Foreman from Bridgeport, age 56.
Emmanuel, I'm from Stanford, and how old I am? I'm just 18 years old.
My name is Bernard Gill. I'm from Stanford, Connecticut, and I'm 27 years old.
My name is Terrence Commodore from Bridgeport, Connecticut. I'm 25.
My name is Derek Mitchell. I'm 57 years old.
My name is Jason Jaramillo, 34.
My name is Stephen Linton. I'm 33. I'm from Norwalk, Connecticut.
After last year, my biological mother passed over a drug overdose, and that affected me and my aunt, who I was originally staying with. Until March 12th, I came here.
I was homeless because I was living with my girlfriend, and she passed away from a diabetic coma. So that that made me homeless.
Well, let's go back last year, 2019. I was homeless then. Train station, bus station. But I was working, everything, just jobs. One thing led to another, you know?
Well, I was in foster care because my mom passed away. I lived with my aunt. And then I got 18, I got kicked out, technically, because I was too old to live there. And technically, my life was good. I was just chilling with my friends every day. I worked and I went to school. I graduated at 19.
I say in the beginning last year, I used to go to a place called the Morton House. It's like a soup kitchen, and they have a hot team that come there from time to time. They located downtown in Bridgeport, down the street from Dunkin' Donuts, and a lady named PJ, she recommended me to come to Stanford, the Pacific House.
I was staying at the train station for about 2 months, and my sister, she found the Pacific House and she put me here.
My stepfather's caseworker. He got a hold of me. He called 211 for me, and he found a spot here in Pacific House, and that's how I ended up here.
Yeah, I'm like I came into like rough meets, and I needed some help, and my psychiatrist and my therapist, they got me into the Pacific House.
There's a stigma attached to being homeless, and it's very hard to break. I used to work for Metro North, the railroad. I used to work in this area, but I was evicted from where I was, and after that, it's either live on the street or come here. Last stop.
You know, I'm using 24-hour basis every day, and I just reached my bottom, you know, and I got to stand up and just try to do something different.
I haven't had an apartment in 13 years. I just bounce from house to house, from shelter to shelter, and this is the only places that's really has opened my eyes to letting me know that, I can do it.
As you just saw, homelessness can affect anyone from any background, nationality, any age, and in the blink of an eye. Now, this is really important. There are a lot of negative stereotypes about the homeless. And yes, some do suffer from substance abuse disorders or mental health issues, but many don't. And most importantly, none is a lost cause. That is exactly why we are here tonight, why it is so important, and why your donation is so significant and will make such an immediate difference in the lives of so many in need. And now it's my great pleasure to introduce Chris Tate, Chairman of the Board.
Hey, Matt, thanks so much. I really appreciate you being here. Thank you for leading us through this evening. This is sort of weird. I've got my big headphones on, and here I am in my house, and I've got my family over here watching the gala. I've got my festive lighting on. I've got my Manhattan, courtesy of Harbor Point Wines and Spirits. Let's see, smells good, looks good. I've got my meatball. If you like Italian food, look at that, delicious. I've got meatballs from Pine Street Concessions and some giant cookies about the size of my hand. If you want some really yummy food, bid on that Pine Street Concessions thing. We have so many cool auction items on our silent auction. It is exciting. It is truly exciting to be here to celebrate with you, to give you an opportunity to learn a little bit about Pacific House that's a little more in depth than we usually get to do on our nights, because there's music and the dancing, but we still have music, don't worry. But I just wanted to say thank you to everyone for being here. Thank you to the great lads over at VCast who are helping us broadcast this amazing gala. Thank you, of course, as Raphael said, as Senator Blumenthal said, as Representative Blumenthal said, thank you to you. You guys are the donors. You guys are the ones who allow us to do the work that we do, to take care of people, to help them find their way home. So I'm going to enjoy my martini, my Manhattan. Cheers. Let's enjoy.
Thanks, Chris. And here's the important part again. Don't forget to text 970-840-9000 to make your donations and your pledges. And we're going to show you how to donate on the screen. Now let's take a look at how Pacific House was formed to help with the problem of homelessness.
From the steps of the First Congregational Church to the steps of Pacific House, the four of us worked very closely together. One Rolodex, one typewriter, 3x5 index cards, and $2.5 million later, we were there. And to this day, I think we share that pride.
My understanding is that emergency shelter was brought together by some community activists who were really concerned about homelessness. And they came together realizing that there was a big need in Stamford and no one was really providing the delivery of services. So this group started what was known as Shelter for the Homeless in the mid-80s.
Shelter for the Homeless was very different. When I think back, it was more shelter, which was good. There were many, many services built into this shelter that a team of case managers worked on. I'll give you a little history. Before Shelter for the Homeless, it was housed on the west side of Stamford in it looks like a little valley. And it was East Main Shelter. And before that, it was in a church.
After a while, I don't know how long, maybe only about a month, they moved over to 66 West Main Street upstairs. And that was a more open place. Again, it was very crowded. Had no facilities. There wasn't even a shower to start. As I recall, we eventually got a shower that didn't work so well. There again, my main job was providing supplies to the shelter.
Within a year or so was with capital enhancement opened up where they were able to host and have 67 guests that were able to come to the emergency shelter.
My earliest recollection of Pacific House starts in high school. The church where I was attending in New Canaan served meals here, and I came along as a high school student looking to help out, and I met the staff here and enjoyed serving meals.
During the time, I was very young. During that time, I was in corporate America. Who knew about homelessness? I know I didn't, and neither did I care. I had a whole different perspective of where my life was going to be. And as I matured, I left corporate America because I wanted to volunteer. And the minute I began volunteering, I decided, you know what, you can make the money, but you need to give back. And ever since then, I fell in love with the agency.
Pacific House Emergency Shelter has been recognized as a leader in providing the delivery of services for the homeless population. It's been known for being a very low barrier shelter, in addition to really being very innovative in how it delivers its services.
It's been a lot, dealing with the population as to what everybody says where they're at, going under the bridges and working with somebody there in a very vulnerable situation, of them being homeless, sleeping outside, trying to get them to come into shelter, working with people with mental health, substance abuse. It's really been tough. It's something that touches you, but at the same time, you got a job, and they are human, but the most important thing about working with that population like that is that they realize that when you come there, you're coming there to try to help them in some type of way.
I make sure that they go and get their social security cards, their ID, their birth certificate. I make sure that they try to get a job at least. If they can't get a job, I'll hire them on to Pacific House to work in our workforce program.
Pacific House for the last 12 years or so has been really committed to being much more about solutions. So from the moment you enter the emergency shelter, Our focus is primarily getting someone from beginning to end around getting them housed.
Tonight, our goal is to raise $200,000. Now, don't forget, we are posting the updates right in our funding meter, right here below the screen. We're making it very easy for you to stay up to date, and you can continue to make a donation, as we're showing right here on screen. And let's take a look at Pacific House transitions their clients. And I just want to point out and remind you and remark upon what a powerful story we just heard, what a tremendous impact the founders of Pacific House had on starting something that was really tremendously important as a shelter for the homeless here in the Stamford community and the surrounding communities. Their generosity is such a reminder of what we can do when we come together. And speaking of generosity, I wanted to remind you that the silent auction is still alive, and you should be able to see that on the screen right now. You have until 11:59 p.m. to bid on a variety of amazing items provided by our own community members. And by the way, all proceeds will go to help the most in need. Now, as I said before, our goal is to raise $200,000, and we're going to be posting those updates, so stay up to date. And you will be posting repeatedly the How to Donate slide to show you how to do so. Now, let's take a look in our next video at how Pacific House transitions their clients from the emergency shelter into their own homes.
I think people have an understanding of homelessness at a very high level, and they often think that it is the person's fault that they became homeless, that they did something to create this for themselves. And what I've learned is that is not nearly the case.
Homelessness touches everyone, regardless of race, creed, or color, regardless of economic status.
So it's something that is with us as a community in the state as well as across the nation. And it's something that we can continue to work on improving and hopefully help people so that they aren't homeless. But we also need a lot of resources to do that. As a country and as a state and as a community, we need to put more resources towards this issue and help people.
It's something that touches you, you know, but at the same time, you know you got a job, you know, and they are human, you know, but the most important thing about working with that population like that is that they realize that when you come there, you're coming there to try to help them in some type of way.
Pacific House has made tremendous strides in moving from being just a shelter to being a major housing provider. And I think that's the biggest shift that we needed, desperately needed, with helping to solve the problem with homelessness. Becoming homeless can happen in a blink of an eye. Finding housing does not happen that way. It happens through a lot of hard work and effort to getting things to align to get back into housing. And so those moments where someone gets housed, those are just the best days ever. And that's really, I think for me, that's where I get a lot of satisfaction.
Well, everybody wants housing. Everybody wants a place they can call their own, where they know they are stable, where they know they are safe, and it is a clean environment. And that is exactly what we have developed into. We have developed into a housing first agency with shelter.
I probably was about 6 months here and there without a particular place to call my home. I heard about the Pacific House through some other homeless people. It's a better experience than living in a train station or outdoors, which I particularly would not have liked to have done. And I wouldn't have wanted to continue to live with friends that were substance abusers. So I tried the Pacific House, and it turned out to be a great experience.
They seen stuff in me that I didn't see.
So now, you know, they gave me I'm working for Pacific House now. So, you know, they see things in me that I never worked a day in my life, except hustling on the streets, you know. I've changed from the day I walked in there to now. I changed. So I'm seeing who I really am, you know, kind of laid back, you know. So it's a good thing. It's a good thing.
They helped me to where I kept my focus on where I was going. I didn't get sidetracked by a friend, an associate. That helped me feel a lot more better about myself, you know, at that time. I was grateful for that because it put money in my pocket. I had a chance to save and learn how to pay rent. They taught me how to pay rent when I never paid rent in my life.
A lot of my friends came through Pacific House, continue to come through Pacific House homeless, wanting support, wanting help. And I've used to hang out with those guys, you know, on a daily basis for years, grew up with some of them, and so on. It really let me know that, you know, when you see personal friends that went through the struggle and are in the struggle, and they come into Pacific House for help, it's telling you something because I know their mindset. You know, and it's really telling you something that it's a good thing that Pacific House is there, you know, but I've grown a lot working at Pacific House, learning that, you know, we're all just one paycheck away from being homeless.
This is an organization that's seeking to end homelessness, and it's doing it one client at a time.
Hey there, welcome back. It's an amazing video. I'm just struck by our incredible staff, how powerful and you know, inspirational their words are. We're really lucky to have such an incredible group of people working for this agency and helping to connect with those in need. So Elsie, I understand that we have a special opportunity for giving here, and I'm really excited about this because, yeah.
Yep, we do.
It's
We have a special naming opportunity. Good evening, everyone. We are clearly really live. We're having a good old time back here. So I want to thank everyone for joining us right now. But what we're going to do is we're going to give everyone the opportunity to be a part of our 35 years and the next 35 years by naming one of our properties. And we have different levels. So you have the option right now to either name one of the beds in our emergency shelters. You can name one of our units, which is kind of like a safe haven space for our clients. They have their own bedroom, they have their own bathroom. We want to make sure that they have dignity and that they feel good. You can also name a full apartment, which has about 3 or 4 units on them, or have the opportunity to name a full house. Now I'm going to pass it back on to Chris so he can give you a little bit more explanation on how this is going to work out.
You're absolutely welcome, Elsie. Yeah, it's really neat. One of the things that the board members and I are always shaking our heads about is that so many of our housing units are referred to by the street where they are, or by their development code name. So we have things like Lighthouse 1 and Lighthouse 2, and we can never keep them all straight. But this is a perfect time, this 35th anniversary year. We're so focused on the people who live in these places, and what a way to connect with the people who live in these places by letting them know and showing them on a daily basis when they come into that they know that there are people out in this community who are caring for them, who decided to put their name on a unit, on a bed, on an entire housing property perhaps. And it's really easy how it works. All you do is you make that donation, and for the next year, you don't have to think about it. Your name is slapped up on that building, and it is the, I don't know, I bet you that we're going to have, let's say, the Velma Clark apartment, if not one of the Velma Clark buildings. I'm pretty sure that's going to happen. But there might even be, I don't know, someone that you love, someone that you'd like to honor, somebody who you know who has experienced homelessness. Maybe you just want to honor a grandchild, a child, I don't know. And this is a way to connect, again, with people and with the most fundamental aspect of what it means to live, which is to have a home. And you can be a part of helping someone know that that home is personal, that there are people caring, people giving, people supporting those of us who struggle.
Absolutely,
Is that good, Elsie? What do you
absolutely,
think?
Chris. Thank you for your passion. You explained that really, really well. We just want to make sure that we only have 14 homes, okay? So if you want to be a part of this home, it's only $5,000 and it can be yours as long as you want it. So can you imagine that you let everyone know, just like Chris knows, that you're a part of this community? And even if you're not in this community and you live in Florida now, or you live in another state, what's so great about this event right now is that people are watching this from all over the world. So you can be a part, even if you're a former Fairfield County resident. We want you to be a part before the homes sell out, so to speak, right? So make sure that you keep donating, make sure that you pledge, and it's the same way that you're going to pledge, the same way you've been pledging all night. So as a reminder, you just have to text 970-840-9000. Okay? You're going to type PHG, a space, the amount, another space, and then your name. And if you want to be anonymous, you can just leave that blank and we'll get back to you. Don't you worry about it. We'll make sure that it happens. And to make it a little bit more exciting, if we can get a lot of you to name our properties, we will make sure that we do a nice press release and your name will be out there if you want it, to let the world know that you care, that you wanted to be a part of our organization, that you want to really be a part of us for a long time, right, Chris?
Absolutely. And you'll give us a huge break by allowing us to remember what the heck all of these crazy properties are called. I mean, it's driving everybody bananas here. I'm tired of Lighthouse. I want to know Velma Clark. I want to know Susan Collins. I want to know whoever it is. I want to know what your building is going to be. I want to know what your unit is going to be. It's really, really going to be exciting, and it's a really neat thing to do on this, our 35th anniversary, when we're really on this cusp of even greater things. And as Raphael mentioned, we've added 6 new buildings, 4 of which are almost ready to go, 2 of which are in development. It's phenomenal. So let's see.
It's beautiful,
I'm looking,
beautiful.
Seeing, oh, hey, that's my brother. Shout out to my brother.
Thank you, Sharon Tate. We appreciate you. The home is
Sharon.
yours. Yes.
Yep. Sharon and Andy. Yep, I saw that. Wow. Cool. Yeah.
Thank you. I also want to say thank you to Kenneth Tropin, one of our really big supporters right here. Also, Alice Melly, excuse me. She's been such a fixture and a part of being such a big heart of Pacific House, and definitely Pat and Bob Phillips. We want to give you a big shout out. We wish you were here. We want to give you so much hugs, love, and light on behalf of Pacific House. And of course, Lauren and Chris Tate, our co-hosts, always doing what they need to here. So thank you so much, everyone, for your donations. And we are open. On to you, Chris.
You want me to go? Oh yeah, I just wanted to say, I know that in typical fashion, Pat Phillips actually has already jumped into the fray quite earlier than the rest of us. She was onto this whole naming thing quite a while ago, because one of our first and most original housing units, Berkeley Place, is called, and has been called for some time, the Pat Phillips House. So we can all follow Pat's example, as we have been for years, and continue to name something. Sorry,
absolutely.
Back to you, Elsie.
And we see you, Melissa Tate. Thank you so much. We will reach out to you. Thank you for that. Chris, your family is rocking. Yes. Give them more martinis in the house. Give them more martinis out there.
Manhattans, yeah.
Manhattan.
I have to be careful. I want my head to remain standing. I don't want to just fall over it before the end of this thing. So.
Well, let's see. Let's see how much you donate. Keep working.
All right.
Okay, well, again, just a reminder that I'm gonna. So just a reminder that we will be taking pledges until 11:59 tonight, which means that we'll be working till 11:59 tonight. Don't you worry. You can make the donation. They're going to show you exactly now how to make that donation. Just send your text messages, type PHG, a space, the amount, another space, and then your name if you want the world to know. If not, anonymous is just fine. All right. Awesome. So
Really, look, I can't believe how close that thermometer is almost to the top, Elsie. I can't believe it. That's an incredible.
Who's gonna get us to the top?
I know.
Let me see.
Who is?
Send a text message right now. Let's do it. Where are my people?
That's right. Oh wow, so close. Well, I can't wait to see. I mean, it's amazing for a virtual event to have raised this amount of money. It's super exciting, and can't wait to bump all the way up to the top. And if you're viewing this
right
and you've already given, if you're viewing this and you've already given, call up your friends. Say, hey, go to pacifichouse.org. Help us out. You can do it. It's virtual. It's easy.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Chris. We appreciate you. And remember, we are still taking your donation. And in light of community and coming together, one of the things that I really noticed as I joined Pacific House is that no matter what was happening in our community, we got together and we made things happen. 2020 has been a difficult year for many of us, especially with COVID. And I'd like to introduce you to some of the stories of our clients and our board members and our staff and how we got together to make sure that the most important people, the people in need that we help, were taken care of during this pandemic.
Pacific House, over the 35 years, for the last 9 consecutive years, Pacific House is a 4-star rated agency through Charity Navigator. And what that means for Pacific House is that for 9 years, we've reached the top in terms of a rating. And out of over the 9,000 agencies that Charity Navigator rates, Pacific House is in the top 3% of those agencies in terms of the human services category, which is really huge for the agency, I believe.
I have to mention how grateful I am for so many donors, volunteers, Meal a Month program participants. You really can see the love and care that they have for our shelter guests. And they really want to make a difference. And I believe that all together we have made a difference.
Pacific House has helped thousands of people get off of the streets. We've served over, it's like McDonald's, we've served like over 1 million served, should be our tagline.
When COVID hit, I was just fearful for our clients because my first thought was, what are we gonna do? Everybody's in emergency shelter. If they're not in one of our deeply affordable properties, they're in the shelter, they're on top of each other. How is it that they're gonna social distance? So internally, I had this massive fear. However, seeing the way the team handled it, the way Rafael Pagan, the executive director, handled it was amazing.
One of the first things we did, we brought to the board of directors the need where we felt strongly that we wanted to relocate our delivery of service from the emergency shelter to hotels. And partly what that would do would allow us to be able to provide a much more a better environment to be able to meet a lot of the criteria that were required of us at the time with COVID-19 and social distancing and keeping everyone safe. Fortunately, the board of directors supported our efforts, and we were one of the first agencies to be able to immediately start moving people to 2 different hotels.
It was about getting our clients where they needed to be safely and not worrying about, well, are we going to be able to pay for it? And it was just about get them there, and we'll figure out the funding, and we'll figure out what needs to happen next.
Something else that I realized that Pacific House did before any other organization did was immediately move our clients into 2 hotels to accomplish the social distancing. They right away said we were working from home if you weren't essentials. And keep in mind that when you're working in an organization that deals with people in the streets, we have frontline workers. You know, Leroy Jordan, he's fantastic. He will go out there. He was out in the streets and in the trains all the time during the tippy height of Corona.
It's a certain way that you got to approach and identify that, listen, we all is living under the same thing. Here's a mask, put this mask on. I could talk to you.
And immediately, for instance, and I'm only speaking, for the board level, what I noticed immediately was we went to once per week Zoom calls. And that is a lot for a board. And they were always very meaty, very content-driven, very issue-driven board meetings. How can we handle this? Do we have PPE? Do we have thermometers? Can we get a doctor in to check on them? What could we negotiate with the hotels? How are we going to get meals now? And it was amazing to me, the detail and the level of involvement that everyone was willing to go to. I was very impressed. And at the same time, continuing, even through all that, we continued to also have strategic planning calls, and we would devote a board meeting. Now, this is only going to be strategy, and we're going to talk about staffing, and we're going to talk about properties that we might be purchasing in order to help, with the overflow that's occurring in Danbury, and we're talking about expanding, and it was just amazing to me, the call to action and the creativity that was used during that time.
Seeing how everyone has stepped in is just so heartwarming, and it makes me proud to be a part of this community. Now, we definitely could not have this evening, and definitely could not have this evening be a success if it weren't for our wonderful sponsors. And we'd like to say thank you to all of those sponsors who continually show their appreciation for what Pacific House does to improve and help the lives of so many in our community. And so now I'm going to thank a couple of them in particular. First of all, thank you to First County Bank for all you do in our community. Thank you to John Connor for your generous donation. Tradition Energy for your generous sponsorship. And Jim Duffy, as well as Coldwell Banker, and so many more. So to pledge again, and this is important, please send, and you can see the information up there. To pledge, please send to a text to 970-840-9000. And in the message, write the letters PHG, then put a space, then the amount, then another space. And then if you'd like to put your name, you can, or if you want to remain anonymous, you can simply leave that space where you would put your name blank. And then the Pacific House team will have your number and they will follow up with you. I want to say a special thank you to our Meal a Month program volunteers. It takes a full team, to make things happen behind the scenes. So let's take a moment to hear from some of the Pacific House team members.
We're moving from being a mom and pop shop into, one of the leaders in deeply affordable housing. So we are growing. But one of the things that I realized is in talking to everyone and hearing their stories, it's been eye-opening. It's been really eye-opening in understanding how some of the case managers, I've seen them get extremely emotional because they get so happy to house somebody. And when they share the story of somebody getting their house or even a room, or one of the clients that we interviewed, to hear him say that, I don't want a big house. What I want is my own room, and I can't wait for that.
We're doing such a great job because since I've been here, we have opened 4 more homes, take them from the shelter and place them in apartments or homes of their own. And that's what I like. We're helping the homeless.
I never knew how much I was taking for granted before I worked here. I never knew the importance of being a team player, as well as working and incorporating the impact of your staff members being a team before I worked here.
We are a force to be reckoned with. I may not continue with Pacific House 30 more years. I don't know what the future holds for me. But there is a group here that I know will pick up the baton and keep going. Don't you give up. no matter what is going on in your life. It ain't over, because we at Pacific House, we come together and we will make it happen.
Although we don't have the biggest staff, the amount of people that we do have are very passionate about what they do. So I have seen that we have been able to positively and effectively house a lot of individuals because we are able to work as a team, as one.
I remember one moment, actually I'll share this with you guys. What ended up happening was we had coffee makers, like the Keurig coffee makers, and I remember I went on Facebook Marketplace and I seen someone was selling one for like 15 bucks. And I remember I went out and I was like, Ms. Velma, I got a surprise for you. You just wait here, don't worry about it. And then I went out and I got the coffee maker for her. And then I brought it back and she was so happy. Like, she hugged me so tight and she was like, you don't know what an impact that had on her, and she was just so happy. And I don't know how to word it, but it's like there'd be certain moments where I would just be with her and we'd just talk, it would be like a lunch break or whatever, and she'll be like, Mohammed, I've been doing this for this long, and then she'll educate me on hey, don't treat this person this way, because she's already read how they are. So she said if you keep schooling them this way, they'll be like that. So she educated me on things that you can't learn from school. These things have to be firsthand. And she made an impact on me for sure. And I just remember how good she was. She was a really, really, really amazing person.
Velma was an instrumental part in our recovery program, in our emergency shelter, and in the lives of so many. I had the pleasure of being a part of one of the first recovery program graduations when I first started here in Pacific House. And I had the absolute blessing to capture Velma in her beautiful essence, her beautiful smile, and the laughter that everyone knew. She is missed by many, loved by more, and remembered by everyone. Please, let's take a moment to remember our dear Miss V.
So many people outside of the agency know that our beloved property manager at the shelter, Velma Clark, passed away this year, and it really is such a loss. My one really good memory is the recovery program graduation ceremonies, where the graduates would stand in front of the room and they all thanked Velma. And with tears in their eyes, they all thanked her for being tough and for helping her and for supporting them and for putting in their minds and in their hearts that they could recover and graduate from the program and on to bigger and better things. So Velma's legacy is huge at Pacific House.
I've known Velma ever since I was a kid, I always had big respect for Velma, big respect for Miss V. And sitting around working with somebody like Velma, who had a lot of experience coming from different other agencies that work with homeless individuals, homeless male, female, HIV, substance abuse, I learned a lot real fast, from Velma, because Velma was very direct in teaching, educating. I mean, you might not like how she said it, but that's how she said it, and it was a way that you would be like, okay, Miss V, I got you, okay. And if you didn't get it, she'll make sure you get it, She was just a beautiful person.
She was a problem solver. She was someone that deeply cared about our guests and the clients that we served. But what I remember most about Velma is her laughter. Someone that made me smile. And her caring heart.
So my favorite Velma moment was when we did a Pacific House video some years back, and the video took a shot of her office, which had papers floor to ceiling and calendars everywhere, and the camera panned to her and she says, you might think this looks like a mess, but this is not a mess. This is where it all begins.
I have very fond memories of Velma, and everybody talks about her laugh, but also her directness too. It was something that, you know, she was very good at. And I gotta say, after she passed away, with COVID coming in and her staff, you know, she had been working with for years, you know, everybody jumped in and filled their role when it came to being on point at the hotels and providing the services. And that just didn't happen by accident. That was Velma's influence in helping people understand the importance of their role as staff. I think all of our folks, you know, our staff, understood that they needed to be there.
She was my family. She was my husband's family. I see her grandson every day. We talked a lot about Jesus. We would have our arguments just like sisters would, and we boo-hooed and cried. I miss her. I miss her laughter. I miss seeing her in the meetings. She was family. This place has lost a huge part.
I have 3 teenage boys, and I would be so stressed out that it literally was like impacting like some of my work. And sorry, I'm cry. And she would always pull me to the side and give me such good advice about how to deal with teenage boys. She would always, again, reaffirm me. She was like, "You got this." And she was just always there as a support whenever I needed her.
Velma put forth a great effort to help everyone. She was very kind, respectful, nice individual. And she's gonna be missed. Yeah. Well, I'm sorry. She was beautiful.
I think that you guys are inspiration to me as well, to see how you came in and how you are now, and the changes that you have made, especially you, Dave. I mean, when you came in, you was bloody. And we made a connection, just like you said, and we're gonna keep that connection. And you know, guys, I'm really, 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 really proud of you. I've seen you come through a lot of hard times. Some of you have had death in your families. Gerald's mother died, who I knew, and he just kept going. He just keep going, keep doing what he have to do. So keep going, and I'm proud of you too, Greg, because when you first came, me and you was like, oh my God, because you was like talking so much about everything, and oh my goodness. But we'll come a long, long, long ways. I'm proud of all of you. Thank you. Keep up the good work.
And go. Velma's passion for the mission of preventing and ending homelessness will live on through every one of us, as will her tremendous work. As you can see, community partnerships are extremely important to the survival and the success of Pacific House. And one of our most cherished partnerships has been with the Round Hill Community Church. They've been partners of Pacific House now for over 3 decades. So I'd like to introduce you to the Reverend Dan Howe with a special message for this evening.
Hi, my name is Dan Howe, and I'm one of the ministers at the Round Hill Community Church in Greenwich, Connecticut. Our congregation has partnered with Pacific House for over 25 years, and it's been an honor to be able to join together to support the vision and the mission of Pacific House and making a profound impact in the lives of local residents and those who are homeless. One of the great joys of my life over the last few years has been able to volunteer to serve at the emergency shelter in Stamford. And currently our congregation is working together in making sandwiches and meals that will be safely delivered to those who are in need. I've been able to watch the growth and the expansion of Pacific House over the past few years and have been specifically impressed with what's happened recently during this global pandemic, that the leadership of Pacific House has been able to adapt and pivot and be very resilient with its resources to continue to make the most impact with the resources that it has. Pacific House now owns and operates 14 supportive housing properties in our region and is able to provide deeply affordable housing to 125 formerly homeless individuals to allow them to live in our region. And even more recently, their emergency shelter has received much needed updates, redesigned shelter to be able to include safety improvements following the COVID-19 protocols, such as having beds spaced 6 feet apart, new partitions in the restrooms, reduced capacity, Wi-Fi throughout the building, updates to the restrooms, increased storage in the kitchen. All of these thanks to the kindness and the generosity of supporters and donors like you. So thank you for your impact in helping Pacific House live out its vision and its mission, which is making a wonderful impact upon our community and upon the hearts and lives and the futures of so many individuals. Thank you.
Hey everybody, I'm back, and I just wanted to take a moment to thank some of our sponsors in particular and some of our big contributors. Thank you to Angelica and Ed Cantlin. Thank you to the Vranos Family Foundation. Thank you to Nielsen's Gardens. And thank you to Webster Bank for your very generous donations to Pacific House this evening. And now I have the opportunity and the pleasure of introducing another special message, this one from our very own Stamford Mayor, David Martin.
Hello, Mayor David Martin here. You've probably all heard by now that we're in the midst of a global pandemic, and everyone has been stretched to the absolute limit. The city of Stamford stretched to the limit, the Stamford Health Care has been stretched to the limit, and everybody is kicking in to do everything they possibly can. The people that we sometimes forget about, the homeless, they're being stretched to the limit, and Pacific House is being stretched to the limit, and they're in a situation where almost no one can come to help, and yet they're taking care of people who are homeless. Can you imagine what it means to be homeless during the pandemic? The Pacific House was there. Pacific House was doing everything it could without a safety net, walking that high wire of trying to keep as many people safe and protected during this terrible, terrible pandemic, which continues today. So my thanks from me, from the city of Stamford, and from the families and the individuals of the homeless for what you have done and what you are continuing to do. And my request of those of you here tonight, your support of Pacific House and their mission is so, so important. And I thank you seriously, because you make a difference in people's lives. It can't happen without you, and it can't happen without Pacific House.
Hey everybody, it's Matt, and I wanted to thank some more of our donors, including Joan Weissman, Jim Duffy, and Stamford Health. Thank you for your very generous donations to Pacific House in service of preventing and ending homelessness in our community. We want to thank you once more. Thank you for everyone coming and joining us virtually this evening. Although we can't be together, this is the opportunity to show what Pacific House has accomplished for the past 35 years across the world, and especially here in Stamford and the surrounding areas. Today, we're not limited to a physical event in Stamford or in Greenwich as we used to be, but we're actually expanding our reach. And we can continue this messaging via social media, emailing your friends, your family, or volunteering. Now, remember that the silent auction is still open and donations will remain open until 11:59 p.m. tonight, so please spread the word. And by the way, we are close. We are close to that $200,000 goal. So if you can push us over the edge, every bit counts. I love to see some intense bidding wars out there. Remember, it's all going to a great cause, preventing and ending homelessness. Now, we took you to where it all started. Now, let's take you to where Pacific House is headed in the future.
Well, a board member is a cheerleader. I'm not dressed exactly like a cheerleader, I guess, but that's a big role that we play. It's to help folks know, the larger community as a whole, what we're doing, and that while many aspects of life these days are uncertain and are challenging, we're still doing what we're called to do. We're still doing taking care of folks and getting them as quickly as possible into housing. So to be a cheerleader, to be a fundraiser, I'm not going to lie. I mean, part of our job, it does cost money to do these sorts of things. So helping to connect people with our mission and encouraging them to give if they feel inclined, I think is an important part of our role.
Pacific House is a tremendous opportunity for anyone that really wants to participate in being engaged in a strong community organization, whether it's serving on the board, in providing direction and policy and oversight for the organization, to being part of a Meal a Month Club, which provides support services for emergency shelter through meals, or just volunteering in any of our projects that we have.
It is a very well-organized board. I think what really helps with this board is the professionalism of the staff themselves and how involved they are in working with the board. It's not the board meeting off on its own, pie in the sky, but it's really every meeting is working jointly with the staff and the directors, and so we become intimately familiar with everything going on at Pacific House.
Our staff does take the time to really get to know our clients, and so it's our job to support them and to help them to do that challenging work.
With Pacific House, you realize that these institutions, these various nonprofits, don't run themselves, and we need all sorts of individuals with skill sets, people who have expertise in terms of the law, those who are from the financial sector and have insight regarding that, other people who work with nonprofits, my work in the religious sphere. All of those come together to help strengthen the organization.
My wish for Pacific House in the next 35 years is to hopefully change how homelessness is and how we manage it. One of my hopes is that we get to the point where we'll be able to provide emergency services for a short period of time and be able to house individuals within a 30-day time period.
My wish for Pacific House for the next 35 years is that we are able to continue to take the sort of intelligent risks that we've taken to continue to increase our stock of deeply affordable housing. Over the years, even really from the very beginning, our leadership has sort of identified a problem and said, we need to fix this. And maybe not necessarily known how they're going to pay for it, how they're going to get it to do it, but they've seen the problem and they said, we need to act. And so my hope for Pacific House is that in the next 35 years, they continue to act and to dream and to make those sort of decisions that make a difference, legitimately changing our community for the better.
It's a celebration. It's like Christmas. If you ever saw a child who sees something that their parents, they wanted from their parents, a bike, and you just watch them, they can't speak, but they breathe, and you say it's yours. Nobody's going to take it from you. And they just keep walking around the room or walking through the one-bedroom apartment, and it's surreal for them. It is difficult to put it into words. It's like if anybody ever rescued somebody If you've ever rescued somebody just from a broken heart, all that comes into play when I get an opportunity to walk in with somebody and they have the keys in their hands.
In 5 years, I hope to be somewhere cooking, like as a job as a chef or a prep cook, and owning an apartment. So I could, like with the job, I could support the apartment.
Hopefully by maybe a month or so, maybe a good month, I should have my place. Thanks to Pacific House. You know, as long as I have somewhere to live.
To be honest, I'm trying to get a nice place, and that's why they're working with me. And you know, it's like it was just a little knockdown for me, and I'm getting up with a lot of help from the Pacific staff. And
you guys did a great job. Just keep up the good work with just everybody.
I want to say thank you for everything and helping me out.
Leroy, you're 100%. You're a great guy. You got my back, and I hope you can keep helping people in the future.
And I'm trying to, I already told George, my case manager, like, trying to change my ways. But other than that, I'm just grateful. Yeah. Thank you for providing the necessary things that you provided for me. Helped me get my birth certificate, my social security card, all them things I didn't have when I came here. And Pacific House helped me get those things, helped me get jobs, you know, helped me take care of myself a little better. Thank you.
Hey there, Chris. How's it going?
It's going good. It's going good, Matt. Thanks. I just, wow, it's really neat to be able to hear from people the way we're getting to hear this year. I mean, it's not the same. I miss the music. I miss the dancing, but wow, it really is cool to get to hear the voices, the people, to get to connect with those a little bit more this year. I'm psyched about that. And I'm looking over at the thing over here. No, this way. There it is.
Yeah, the fundometer is looking good right now.
Yeah,
I think we can push
it's
it a little
looking
higher, though.
pretty good all the way up to the top. And gosh, 183.9. My goodness. Well, as you've mentioned numerous times, why can't I mention one more time? At that number 970-840-9000, we could keep donating all the way until 11:59 p.m. Is that what we told everybody? So
And actually, Chris,
maybe before.
Chris, I've got something to add. So folks, you can continue donating an additional 48 hours after 7 p.m. tonight. So two days after tonight, you'll be able to continue to donate. You can pledge by following these instructions right above my head. XPHG to the number above, and you can continue to donate for the next 2 days. But why wait? Just do it now.
Yeah.
And the silent auction will be closing at 11:59 p.m.
All right. Thank you for that clarification, Matt. I appreciate that. I'm so grateful for everybody. This has been a different but an amazing evening, and I'm a little. Maybe it's the Manhattan, but I'm a little overwhelmed. Sorry.
Chris, I need one of those.
It's incredible. Well, gosh. Well, I keep mentioning the music. Am I correct? Do we have a little taste of the tunes to close out our evening tonight?
Once I wrap up, we will.
Oh, okay. Terrific. Well, I just want to say again. Yeah. I just want to say again, thank you, everyone. It's been an honor and a privilege to be here virtually with you this evening. I hope it's going to be a little bit drier tomorrow. Maybe get out and enjoy the weather. And I'm sure that we'll wake up and we'll see that thermometer through the roof if it hasn't get there by tonight. So thanks so much. It's really just humbling, and I'm grateful.
Let's hope we need a new thermometer. And in that vein, I would like to thank a couple of very generous donors in particular, including Jane Pelletier, Joan Connor, and J Forest Development in particular. Thank you for your very generous donations. They're going to make a huge difference. Well, it's been just an absolute pleasure to host the first ever virtual Pacific House Gala. And I'm so sorry I wasn't able to see you in person, but this was still fun. Together, we are providing such critical support to the homeless in our community. So let's keep the mission moving forward and keep the legacy of Pacific House and its mission and the founders' mission, keeping it continuing going strong through many years with your support. We've heard from staff, volunteers, sponsors, clients, so many more. And I couldn't be more proud of how this community has stepped up and partnered on all of this together to help the homeless, especially in this very difficult time. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you for joining us. And most importantly, thank you for your support. So again, your generosity is really why we're here tonight. So send that thermometer through the roof. Thanks so much and have a good night.
The 21st night of September, love is changing the minds of victimized while chasing the clouds away. Our hearts are ringing in the key that our soul was singing as we dance in the night. Remember how the stars stole the night away. Yeah, yeah. Say bye. Just shoot for the stars if it feels right, and aim for my heart. If you feel like you take me away, make it okay. I swear I'll behave. You wanted control, so we waited. I put on a show. Now I'm naked. You say I'm a kid. My ego is big. I don't give a shit. It goes like this. Take me by the tongue and I'll know you. Kiss me till you're drunk and I'll show you all the moves like Jagger. Got them moves like Jagger. Got them moves like Jagger. I don't need to try to control you. Look into my eyes and I'll own you with them moves like Jagger. Got them moves like Jagger. Got them moves like Jagger. Moves like Jagger.
Right, turn off the lights. We're gonna lose our minds tonight. What's the deal, yo? I love when it's all too much. 5 a.m., turn the radio up. Where's the rock and roll? Party crasher, penny snatcher. Call me up if you a gangster. Don't be fancy, just get dancy. Why so serious? So raise your glass if you are wrong in all the right ways. All my underdogs, we will never be anything but loud and nitty-gritty, dirty little freaks. Won't you come and raise your glass? Just come and raise your glass. Slam, slam, oh hot damn, what party don't you understand? We should just freak out. Can't stop coming in hot. I should be locked up right on the spot. It's so on right now. Party crasher, penny snatcher. Call me up if you are gangster. Don't be fancy, just get dancy. Why so serious? So raise your glass if you are wrong in all the right ways. All my underdogs, we will never be anything but loud and nitty-gritty, dirty little freaks. Won't you come and raise your glass? Just come and raise your glass. Won't you come and raise your glass? Just come and raise your glass. For me, somebody sexy, tell 'em hey.